I feel a bit sorry for Treasurer Jim Chalmers. Well, I would feel sorry if he wasn't trying to fool you. Chalmers had a great game plan when Labor won office 4 months ago. It's quite lazy really, but simple. Attacked the Liberals for leaving the Albanese government with a shocking budget. I mean, terrible budget. Just blame everything on them. In fact, that's exactly how he started off. Remember this?
The fiscal situation we're inheriting is dire. The budget situation that we're inheriting from the Liberal Party is of serious concern to us.
Oh, it's all so dire, those terrible Liberals. Except today, what a surprise. What a surprise. Not entirely welcomed by Jim Chalmers, though. He released the final budget figures for the year before he hands down his budget next month. And if he had a long face today, it wasn't because the budget he'd inherited was bad, but exactly the opposite, because it turned out not to be so bad at all. I mean, good heavens, the deficit projected early this year turned out to be actually less than half. It was down $47.9 billion. Sure, there was still a deficit for the year of $32 billion, which is not nice, but that's actually not too shabby at all, since that comes after going through a pandemic when a number of states stupidly locked down whole cities, Melbourne especially. But look now how we've come out of it. Growth, quite good. Unemployment, super low. That's brilliant, actually. And less than half the deficit we expected. Good job, Liberals. But poor Jim Chalmers had to stick to his now ludicrous tactics of trying to tell us that the Liberals were actually hopeless financial managers who'd left him with a total disaster.
I think it speaks volumes about the budget that we inherited, that even with an improvement of this magnitude, we still have $30 billion of deficit, we still have around $1 trillion of debt, and the pressures on the budget are intensifying rather than easing.
Now, the trickery there, I bet you spotted it. For a start, 1/6 of that Liberal debt was actually inherited from the Labor Party, from the last Labor governments. Second, a lot of the rest of that debt comes from the massive spending during the pandemics to save jobs and keep the economy going. And Labor backed that spending, you may recall. In fact, it wanted even more spending. When it went to the election, Labor actually promised $80 billion more spending than the Liberals. That's $80 billion of even more debt. And now Chalmers is complaining that the Liberals left me with nothing. I thought the opposition leader, Peter Dutton, put it well in question time today, even if the actual question he finally got to ask the Prime Minister was an anticlimax.
The Prime Minister, Labor left hundreds of billions of dollars of debt, supported every dollar we spent during COVID and proposed $80 billion more in spending. Unemployment has now hit a 50-year low and our economy, though, is stronger than the US and the UK, who look certain to go into recession. Prime Minister, Australians are hurting and cost of living is going up and up under your government. Before the election, you had a plan to help. Now you only have excuses. Prime Minister, where is the plan?
Now, sure, I do think the Liberals spent too much in government, and I said so at the time. But Labor never said too much. It said, give us more. And now it cries poor when the Liberals turn out to have left them with nearly $50 billion more than they actually expected. That's enough money, by the way, to keep the cut in petrol excise going for another 8 years. That 22 cents a litre excise cut that actually goes back on to petrol from tonight. It ends tonight, that cut. And that, of course, is going to add to your cost of living. So, I'm sorry, Jim Chalmers, I'm sorry, Labor, you did not inherit a mess. What you inherited was a standard. Stop whinging and start measuring up.